Recording in progress. All right. So Nathan, I guess Karen knows all about F45. So I don't know if you want to tell her anything more about F45 since you so graciously asked me to do this today. So
Yeah, well, maybe since we're
someone else is
recording
coming
it.
in here.
Okay, perfect.
There you
Well,
go.
maybe since we're recording. Hey, Crystal. Oh, she's not in yet. I'll just give a quick little intro to F45, and it'll be super fast.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Hey, Crystal. So yeah, I'm Nathan Temple. I'm the owner of F45 Training Largo East. We're on East Bay, right at Starkey Keene on the south side there. So we are a full body functional fitness studio. And really, we're personal training in a team-based environment. So we're all class-based. It's circuit training or really high-intensity interval training. And we have an amazing community. We have 280 five-star reviews. So this is the place you want to be to really transform your body. And we do that through an approachable fitness model that's focused on strength conditioning. And as Dr. Bender knows very well as a member and as, of course, as a doctor and nutritionist, that when you build lean skeletal muscle mass, you're going to burn more calories, and that'll lead to a reduction in body fat. And that's what gets kind of the weight loss that most people are kind of focusing on when they come in. They say, hey, I need to lose some weight and get in shape. So if you're paying attention to wellness and fitness articles, you're probably seeing a lot of press around adding strength and doing strength conditioning type of movements. So that is our focus. We have cardio days as well, but even in the cardio days, we're going to use light weights and we're going to do compound full body functional movements. So right now we are doing a 2-week trial for $20. And so that's a great way to experience multiple workouts, different classes. Check out our trainers and our awesome community and, transform your body, try something new. So that's who we are, what we do. Dr. Bender is a member of F45, and I've known her for several years now, and her team as well. And so thank you very much for speaking to us. You've done a couple talks before, and it's always a great educational experience. Our goal here is to kind of, we want to do a quick, high impact discussion so you guys can get on with your evening in this beautiful day. So yeah, take it away. Thanks, Dr. Kim.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So I'm Dr. Kimberly Bender. I am a chiropractor. I also have 2 board certifications in nutrition. I have a full-time practice, nutritional and chiropractic in Bel Air Bluffs. And I also teach anatomy and nutrition at St. Pete College as well. And as Nathan said, my husband and I work out at F45, and I do a lot of nutritional counseling, helping people with what they need to be eating, what supplements they need to be taking, what forms for them specifically based on blood work, based on questionnaires we do, based on other testing we do. I do a lot of food allergy testing, and a lot of functional medicine work. So Nathan asked me to put this together. It's way longer than 20 minutes, but I know we're only going to try and take 20 minutes tonight. So I'm going to kind of zoom through a lot of it, no pun intended. But we will post the recording, so anyone wants to go back and look at more of what's in the slides, you can absolutely do that. Nathan asked me to talk about possibly touch on a couple different aspects. We'll kind of save the keto till the end in case we run out of time. But just a lot of questions that the trainers get, a lot of people get there are about healthy fats. What can I be consuming? Protein sources, how much protein do I need? What kind of sources of protein? Because some people don't want to do a lot of animal products, and there's a lot of other sources they may not be aware of. We want to touch on intermittent fasting and detoxing, because that's all important for our bodies as well. So just, some of this you guys know already, some you may not, some you may need to be reminded of. So just healthy fats, they are important. Our brain needs fat. A lot of people want to do no fat diets, and that's not healthy. We do need fat in our body. Avocados, cheese, whole eggs, of course, those won't be in a vegan diet. And dark chocolate's gotten a bad rap, but there is a lot of healthy, not only magnesium, but healthy fat to dark chocolate in moderation, of course. Fatty fish, which are great, a great source of protein, which also have a lot of the omegas in it that can help keep your nervous system and your brain healthy. Nuts, chia seeds, olive oil, coconut oil. In the past, coconut oil's got a really bad rap as well, but there's a lot of healthy benefits to the coconut oil as well, and full fat yogurt. Of course, if you're a vegan, you wouldn't want to be doing those. So I put together this just to zoom through some of these real quick. 90% of the fatty acids in coconut are saturated, but they are metabolized a little bit differently, and infecting the liver and turning it into ketone bodies, which a lot of us have heard about, are good for suppressing appetite, as well as for the brain to prevent things like Alzheimer's and other brain function things, and also to actually help lose body fat when you're consuming coconut oil. Dark chocolate, of course, as we said, in moderation. It is a strong source also of magnesium. In addition, magnesium helps not only relax muscle, which is important, especially when you're using your muscles a lot to work out. It can actually help lower your blood pressure and your LDL cholesterol, which is your bad cholesterol. But again, in moderation, the darker the better, is absolutely essential. And with magnesium, also, people that crave sugar are usually magnesium deficient. So getting some magnesium in your body can actually help you crave less sugar, which will also help your body too. Plus, there's actually fiber in dark chocolate, believe it or not. Some vegan sources of protein: dried beans, peanut butter, nuts, legumes, soy, which I always tell people should be used in moderation, because of course it does have an estrogenic activity to it. And that's why we don't want, especially males, to consume a lot of soy or soy milk, because that can throw off their testosterone levels. So you want to be careful of that. Pure forms like edamame are better. And then of course, some other vegan proteins, only if you're, well, not vegan, but if you're lacto-ovo vegetarian, then you could consume eggs and dairy in moderation too. So again, I already mentioned the soy, the estrogenic activity. It can help lower your blood cholesterol, of course, depending on how you're consuming it. I'm not a big fan of soy in the processed. It's overutilized in making a lot of processed, quick snack bars, etc. I'm not a big fan of the highly processed, but more of the pure, in the tofu form, or tempeh or edamame as well. Lentils is a great source of protein too, because we want to build that lean muscle and burn that fat. And so we can use that in a variety of ways too. And it is a good source of fiber. A lot of people that go on these really super high protein diets, they want to do high protein, they'll even do fat, but they're like low or no carb. We need carbs. We do need fruits and vegetables, and we do need fiber, because we need that to not only help with heart disease, but help prevent colon cancer and to keep our bowels moving, which we know is super important, and to help feed the good bacteria in our gut to keep that healthy as well. Beans, there's a wide variety of beans. You're probably aware of many of them. 15 grams of protein per cooked cup of beans, so it's an excellent source of those complex carbs and fiber, and also can continue to not only decrease your cholesterol and lower blood pressure, but also to help control your blood sugar as well. Nutritional yeast. This is something that a lot of people either don't know about or have forgotten about. The Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast is sold commercially in stores in powder or flakes. But the good thing about yeast is, if you don't want to use, like, if you like cheese, but you don't want to get the dairy of cheese, the nutritional yeast has like a cheesy flavor to it. So you can add it to things like mashed potatoes or scrambled tofu to give it flavor, or even eggs to give it that kind of cheesy flavor, but you're adding protein instead of the cheese and the dairy of that, especially trying to avoid that. And nutritional yeast is high in magnesium, and we already mentioned why that's important. Your B vitamins, especially B12, which is super important for your energy level too. Spelt and Teft are two proteins also that aren't used as much. Spelt, however, does contain gluten. So people who are gluten-free, like me, because of health reasons, they would want to be very careful with spelt or rye, because they both do contain gluten, but they can be also sources of fiber and iron and magnesium and some of our other essential nutrients, as well as higher in protein than some of our other grains. And Hempseed, which is from the cannabis sativa plant, 10 grams of complete protein, easily digestible, and again, a good source of our omegas and magnesium. And some people don't know that hemp seed can help reduce inflammation, as well as manage symptoms of PMS, so or menopause as well, in balancing those hormones. So green peas, some people don't think of peas as being a protein, but a lot of protein powders now are made with pea protein, especially for people like me who can't have dairy. So I do a lot of pea protein, or using the nuts as protein, or doing a rice protein shake, as we do protein smoothies in the morning. But green peas are a great source, especially for people with allergies. 9 grams of protein per cup of cooked peas. And it contains a lot of the other nutrients that are listed here, including magnesium and the B vitamins as well. Spirulina is just one of the greens that are in a lot of green products. You can eat them. Of course, sometimes spirulina has a grassy taste to it, so some people don't like that. We do green drinks in the morning, every morning, but we do it with a protein powder, and we do it with fresh fruit that is available, or frozen fruit if we don't have any fresh. But not just spirulina, a lot of the chlorella and the other sea greens are really good for iron, as well as a lot of the other nutrients. Powerful antioxidant in the greens, and keeps you regular, which is super important as well. Amaranth and quinoa, a great source or alternative to rice. People that really like the fullness that rice gives them, it makes them full. Of course, we need some carbs in there too. But amaranth and quinoa can be a higher protein, 8 to 9 grams of protein per cooked cup of in that amaranth or quinoa, and that can be a great alternative to rice to make you feel full, but still give you that fiber and also give you some protein at the same time. And then oats and oatmeal. Most oats are gluten-free. Sometimes there's some cross-contamination depending on the kind of oats you get, but it is a good source of protein as well as fiber for all those things we talked about. And of course, if you do like rice to help fill you up and the taste of it, we want to go more towards the wild rice, which is even better than brown rice and basmati. A cooked cup of rice can give you 7 grams of protein. And like I said, a lot of protein shakes are rice-based, so you can do a rice-based protein shake too as an alternative for that as well. Chia seeds are great. They're also in a lot of protein bars that you can buy in the store. They're in a lot of the Aussie Bites or things like that that you can do, that we even get at Sam's Club, that have the chia seeds in them, which can combine with the water to help fill you up, give you great fiber, give you some omegas at the same time, and give you some selenium, which you need for your thyroid. Typically, they have more of a bland taste when they're by themselves, but we can combine them with other things to make them taste even better. And then, of course, nut butters. A lot of people don't realize if they aren't doing milk or dairy for the reasons because of hormones or because they're allergic, you can use nut milks or nut butters, and that can be a good source of protein, as well as getting your calcium, which is hard to do, especially for people who are dairy free, to get enough calcium. And we need to make sure we do get enough so we can keep our bones strong as we continue to work out. So how much protein and how much is too much protein? Well, if we get too much protein, we could increase our risk of heart disease. We could form kidney stones, especially if we're taking in calcium that's the wrong form of calcium. I caution people that even take calcium supplements. You don't want to take calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is kind of like chalk. And if we get a lot of protein and too much calcium carbonate, we can actually form kidney stones and do something negative instead of positive for ourselves. But if our body has too much protein, it can actually kind of leach the calcium from our bones, which also isn't good. So we need to balance that out with things, because protein tends to become more acid and sends our body into that acidosis. And chronic illnesses live in acidosis, but it will also pull calcium from your bones. So we do want to have that balance with alkalinizing foods such as our green veggies, etc., that can help balance out the pH in our body for many reasons too. So how much personal protein do you personally need? So 10 to 35% of our total calories from protein, of course, depends on if you're an athlete. If you're more sedentary, of course, those values can change. But we do want to look at how much protein we personally need. We have our averages. Typically, 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is what we need. So when you're calculating your own how much protein you need, you're going to convert from pounds to kilograms. you're going to take how much you weigh, divide by 2.2, and that'll give you how many kilograms you weigh. Because most of us, unless we're from another country, don't know how many kilograms we weigh. And then you take that weight in kilograms and multiply it by 0.8 grams, and that will give you the grams of protein per day that you need personally. Now, unless you're an athlete, you may need more. You may need up to 1.2 to 2.0 grams per kilogram per day. So you can kind of do the math for yourself. But that kind of gives you a good range as to how much protein you need, because it's not the same for everyone. People that don't want to figure out and weigh their protein, I tell them the size of the palm of your hand is a serving of protein for you typically, depending on what kind of protein you're doing, of course. And so you want to have 2 to 3 servings of protein the size of the palm of your hand per day. And of course, that would be higher if you're an athlete. And you can see by this chart that varies a little bit with males and females, and what your diet consists of. So again, protein, if you're not getting enough, you don't like meat, you don't like any of those sources I talked about, there's ways to not cheat, but get it in extra. People that have swallowing issues, I deal a lot with those patients too, where they just don't feel hungry. So to ensure they're getting enough and keep that strong muscle mass, we encourage shakes or powders, which again, you can do whey-based if you can tolerate milk. Soy, again, in moderation because of the hormonal influence, or rice or pea are good options. But at least protein shakes are pretty balanced in our amino acids. Some of you may know that proteins are made of amino acids, a combination of 20 different amino acids. And we don't want to super hyper dose any one of those. Of course, with the branched chain amino acids, we often take those before or after a workout so that we can kind of build more lean muscle. But you don't want to hyperdose too much because it can create imbalances. For example, there's an amino acid lysine, which is very good to fight off things like the shingles outbreak or to keep that at bay. But if we get too much arginine, like in a bodybuilding protein powder shake, and we don't balance it with lysine, we can create actually a shingles outbreak. So we don't want to do those things. So we want to make sure that we keep those balanced. So protein shakes are usually a good way to keep that balance because they come in a balanced form. So again, whey can be a protein, WHEY can be a way to get that protein. It can have, again, possible negative effects of cramps, headaches, GI problems, especially if you don't break down dairy well. You can always add in a lactase enzyme to help break it down better, but or you could just use another source of protein. I just put this slide in here because there's different kinds of whey. It's not that easy to just say whey is whey. There's protein isolates, there's hydroxy isolates, and some of them are broken down more than others and maybe more tolerable. But just so you know, there are different forms of that too that you can read about there. So I wanted to talk about fasting. I get a lot of questions about fasting. There's intermittent fasting, which we'll mention here in a few minutes. There's just going without eating at all during the day, or some people will go many days at a time. Some people will just do one day randomly. But there's a lot of benefits to fasting, but there's also some drawbacks. So reasons to fast, I'll just kind of pop through here real quick. Of course, if you're overweight or you have low energy or your gut is imbalanced, you have diarrhea or constipation or heartburn, we kind of want to flush our body out. People that have a lot of food allergies, they're around a toxic environment, they might get the dark circles under their eyes from their adrenals being overworked, which are stress glands, asthma, aching in the joints, building your immune system more. Our liver is our detox organ, and we do need to periodically just flush it out to kind of do a reset so that our bodies can be healthy. So, poor memory, all these are reasons or things that we can be helped if we choose to fast. So, however, if you don't fast properly, you can disrupt your metabolism. You can stress your liver because, again, your liver is your stress organ. And if you improperly fast, you can release too many toxins from your fat at once, and then people actually feel sick. It's like when they do keto and they get the keto flu. It's because you're flushing out so many toxins at once, and it just overwhelms your body and you can get sick. So you want to kind of do a balance And that's why you don't just want to stop eating completely and not give your body any of the nutrients it needs. Plus, if you're releasing all those toxins at once, you can clog your colon, which we don't want to do. And again, those oils can flood your bloodstream and release too many toxins all at once. So if we do it properly, we can flush toxins, we can lose weight, we can cleanse our body, we can boost our energy, we can sleep better, we can relax better, and we can get clearer thinking and hopefully decrease allergic reactions. Of course, there's no alternative to finding out what you're allergic to, which we do a lot of testing of that in our clinic, so that we can make sure, you're not putting in something that you might react to. For example, I told you I react to dairy, but I don't react to almonds or some of the other protein sources, so I know what I can substitute. Some people react to those as well, so that's important to find out as well. So at the beginning, I was talking to, I think it was Karen, we were just generally talking about intermittent fasting. There is more than one way to do intermittent fasting for those who want to do fasting. And it is just about an eating pattern, okay? You can intermix restrictive dieting with intermittent fasting, but basically it's just about what period of time you eat. So there's a couple different methods. There's the 16-8 method, there's the eat, stop, eat method, there's the 5-2 method, and the difference is the timing of when you're eating. So the lean gains protocol, which is what most people do with intermittent fasting, is called the 16-8 method, which means you skip breakfast, you usually restrict your eating to about 8 hours a day. So for some people's schedule, it may be like this says from 1 to 9 o'clock, or it may be different based on your schedule. But basically you're eating for in between a period of 8 hours, not the whole 8 hours, and then you're not eating for 16. So it kind of gives your body some rest and some downtime to focus on other healing in your body and not on digesting your food. Not everyone can fit into the 1 to 9 p.m. Some people move it up earlier in the day. I know that doesn't really work with my schedule, but for some people that kind of framework's really great. You also have to consider your work schedule so that you don't go too long, because then some people will get lightheaded, or their blood sugar will drop too much, and that's not healthy either. So you have to be really careful about setting that up. The eat, stop, eat method is fasting for 24 hours, once or twice a week, just to stop eating from dinner one day until dinner the next. Again, not everyone does well with this. If you're a diabetic, I don't recommend it because it'll really affect your insulin release. But of course, consult with a physician if you have health issues before you start with it. Or the 5-2 method, which is to consume only 500 to 600 calories on 2 non-consecutive days during the week, and then the other 5 days you eat normally. So I encourage people, you can try one method. Some people will do a liquid fast versus not eating at all. In addition to drinking water, they'll do a juice fast where they have some kind of, cranberry juice or even at least do some kind of fiber or psyllium with it if they need to keep their stomach a little more full, but that can be a good way of healthy fasting as well. So again, some of the benefits of fasting, it actually will increase your human growth hormone. Growth hormone is what heals us, and it can increase the amount as much as 5-fold. And our bodies do make growth hormone while we sleep at night, but this can really, by fasting and giving your body a rest, it can actually increase during those hours of sleep. When you do make growth hormone, it can make it that much better. In the long term, it can help with insulin resistance. That's not like an insulin dependent diabetic, but someone who their cells just aren't as sensitive anymore to insulin. So it can help make their cells more sensitive to insulin, and so that they can utilize energy and blood sugar better. It can help decrease inflammation in the body. Chronic illnesses thrive on inflammation, so it can decrease these markers, whether it's, inflammation in your hands or in your joints or other organs in your body. And of course, it can help with cholesterol. I mentioned earlier, it can help with brain. And they say, a lot of studies now say it may help protect against Alzheimer's. And actually, caloric restriction is one of the best ways, they say, to help keep a healthy brain. And of course, prevent cancer. But of course, there's a lot of other health issues involved with that as well. As I mentioned earlier, some drawbacks of fasting can be It can disrupt your hormone levels. So we have to be really careful of that, especially if someone's thinking about having a child or has already struggles with hormone imbalance. We want to consult with them individually. Men typically do not have the same sensitivity of insulin as women do. So for some women, blood sugar control can be an issue with it. So that we need to consider too. And of course, there's the hunger method. That's why a lot of people don't fast, is just because they're hungry or they get that brain fog. And again, that's because we're releasing toxins because we're using our own body as energy instead of that food that we would normally be intaking. So I wanted to put this in there real quick. I know I want to value everybody's time and everyone's super busy, but I just want to go through this real quick and then I'll take any questions anybody may have. Everything is in moderation. And so, everyone is always talking about diet. There's all kinds of fad diets. There's all kinds of, just diet is what we ingest, is what we take in. And some of us have a good diet and some of us have a bad diet. But when I tell people, it's about moderation. I don't like to put people on super restrictive diets where they're only eating, these few foods, but I like to give recommendations as to using food as your, we'll take vitamins, but we'd rather get all those nutrients through our food if we can. And so, but we want to make sure we're taking in foods that will love our liver and cleanse our liver, and that will help cleanse our colon on a regular basis. So just to go through real quick, the cruciferous vegetables are so important for cleansing your liver: cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli sprouts, green leafies and herbs like parsley, kale, watercress, and greens. Citrus. We need citrus to cleanse our liver as well. So I tell people you can eat a whole orange because then you'll get the fiber too, or the juice of a lemon or lime every day will really help cleanse your liver. And we need sulfur foods to cleanse our liver too. So garlic, onions, eggs, and radish are great sources of that too. Other liver healing foods: artichoke, asparagus, beets. Beets are great. If you don't like to eat beets, you can take it supplementally. They have beet chews now, or you can take nitric oxide, which is high. Beets are the food highest in nitric oxide, which get oxygen to your tissues, which help make you have a healthy heart and help you burn fat. So eat a lot of beets. I get beets. I do take it supplementally. I just happen to have it sitting right here in the form of a nitric oxide supplement. But also I do a green drink every morning, and I have a green powder that has beets in it because it helps your circulation as well. Dandelion root tea, celery, whey, the nutritional yeast flakes that I was talking about earlier are also important for healing your liver. And then we also want to make sure we're cleansing our colon, so we can take in psyllium or psyllium husk, ground flax. Flax is a great source, is the plant version of fish as far as omegas. So flax is great, not only for the fiber, but also for those omegas. And then carrots, apple, pear, and berries are excellent for cleansing your colon. So I'm not going to go a lot into the keto diet. A lot of you already know about the keto diet. There's different versions of ketosis in the keto diet, but for purposes of time, we can talk about that another time. But I did put this in here. Low carb, high fat. You got to be careful with keto diet. There's different types of keto. There are benefits, many of which we talked about with fasting. Also, keto can help with that. But I do like to caution people who eat keto too much of the negative effects. And so I'm just going to touch on that real quick, and then we'll take questions. So putting your body into ketosis can stress your liver. And so this is one thing that keto can be really great to get your body revved up and build protein and build muscle in your body. But if you do keto too long, it can actually stress your kidneys. And I've known people who've actually suffered kidney damage from prolonged keto, especially if they're dehydrated. So just a warning, if you do choose to do keto, make sure you're not doing it hardcore for too long, especially dehydrated. And then there's some other negative keto effects. So moderation is the best thing. It's good to fast every now and then, even if you choose not to do it as a lifestyle, and make sure you're getting your lean protein and your colon cleansing and liver cleansing foods. So any questions? I know I talk really fast. Is everyone asleep?
I know Darlene has a question.
I know Darlene always has questions. Hi,
How,
Darlene.
how long should we fast if we're doing F45 and, trying to build muscle and
Well, and it depends on which form of the fasting you're doing. If you're, doing the 16-8 method, you can go a long time with doing that, depending on what you're eating during your ingestion time. Okay. So if you're getting your lean protein and your fruits and vegetables and your good healthy fats, you can do it as a lifestyle in the 16-8 method. I'm just not a big fan of people completely abstaining from food from too many days, especially with their fluctuating blood sugar and depending on, what their health status is at the time. So you can do it as a lifestyle ongoing in the 16-8 method, but you need to make sure you're getting the right foods during the time you're eating.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I didn't even know it. I thought I was muted. Okay, so I hope I didn't say anything bad. So,
well, I didn't hear anything until right now. So
okay, good. So is it important to have protein after a workout?
That's a great time to do protein. Actually, you can do before, after. I prefer after. Sometimes with people, it kind of makes them a little nauseous if they do it before they work out. Yep. But I actually do amino acids, because I talked about amino acids earlier, but I put amino acids in my drink that I drink before and during and after my workout. And that's
so the importance of beets. Okay, so I'm not good on taking pills, right?
Right.
So you mentioned there's a chewable for beets.
Yes.
And do you have those available?
Well, I use the capsules that that's what I carry in my office, but they make beet chews now that you can pick up at most of the pharmacies.
How about, can I take one of your gel caps, undo it and put it in my shake?
You sure can.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Absolutely. Or like some of the green powders, like we do one called Greens First, and that actually has red beet powder in it already. But for people who want to super concentrate it, I'm telling you, and actually not just me, you can do it anywhere, but we have little test strips, and I think I've done them. I might have done one with you before, Darlene, too, where you can actually, it's a saliva measure to see what your nitric oxide levels are, because it's nitric oxide is the active ingredient in the beets that has that powerful cardiovascular benefit. And there's a little test strip that you can measure your saliva to see how high your NO levels are, your nitric oxide levels are. So that's something that you can get easily. I carry them. You can order them online if you really want to see what those levels are. So.
Thank you. And I really think it's awesome too that you have food allergy testing in your office, which was astonishing to me. Lettuce, I'm sorry, I'm going to eat lettuce.
Well, and the thing I tell people about food allergies, so for those of you who might not know a lot about food allergies or testing, there's different kinds of food reactions. Most people, when they think of food allergies, it's the anaphylactic reaction, which is like my throat swells shut, I can't breathe. That's an IgE reaction. And so most people don't come to me for that because they already know they have that. But what goes undetected a lot is the IgG reaction, which is that latent onset. That means hours to days after you eat a food, it causes gut disturbance, headaches, inflammation in the body. And sometimes when you have those symptoms, you can isolate down what the food is, oh, I know when I eat dairy, I have this problem. But for a lot of people, they can't figure it out. Or, a lot of the foods we eat have multiple ingredients. And so if it was bread, was it the yeast? Was it the grain that it was made with? So we do blood food allergy testing where you just prick your finger, put it on a little test card, and we send it to the lab, and they test it for the 96 most common foods and tell you what is causing that inflammation, that gut issue in your body. And then you can make a choice to take it out. But you may still choose to eat what it tells you is causing you an issue, but at least you're making a conscious decision okay, now I know it's lettuce, but I'm still going to have it. Then and then you can use it in moderation as well.
Okay, one more question. I don't want to
Sure.
hog the whole floor here, but how does, besides symptoms with people, how do they know if they're sensitive to gluten?
Okay, so there's a lot of different reasons why someone might not want to eat gluten. It might be that we find out doing a food allergy test, like the one I just mentioned, and it comes back where they'll test the 2 parts of wheat, gluten and gliadin. And so they might come back one or the other or both. And then you would know that you need to remove it and that you're sensitive. But there's other reasons that people may take gluten out. Gluten is the sticky part of wheat. It can tend to be inflammatory in the body. So I tell people that have a lot of arthritis in their hands and their feet, their skin gets tight, they get a lot of inflammation in the body. Often gluten is an issue because of how our grains are grown these days. I personally have taken gluten out of my diet because I have a condition of hypothyroidism called Hashimoto's, where it's an autoimmune condition where my body attacks my own thyroid. And gluten is bad for Hashimoto's. It tends to cause more inflammation. So since I took it out, it feels so much better. So there's a lot of different reasons people might want to be gluten-free. And some people will just be gluten-free because someone else in their house is, or they may have a condition called celiac, where they get really bad diarrhea, constipation. And it can, if it's bad enough, these people can have it affect their immune system to the point where there have been people who've died from having gluten if they have celiac. So there is a special test you can do for that. But most people have, been hospitalized for these GI issues. That's how they usually find that out. But, it's okay not to eat gluten anyway. There's a lot of options for gluten-free, diets out there too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What are the big things that decrease inflammation? I'm familiar with turmeric.
Uh-huh.
Is a big anti-inflammatory.
Okay. Turmeric's great, or you might see it listed as curcumin. Curcuminoids is the active part of turmeric. Ginger is a great food to decrease inflammation. Of course, taking out the inflammatory foods that we mentioned, like dairy can be very inflammatory, wheat can be inflammatory, but adding in things like pineapple contains bromelain, which is an enzyme that helps break down food in your body. If you're eating, it's a great enzyme to break your food down for digestion. But if you do pineapple in between eating other foods, it will break down inflammation in your body. Or tart cherries. Cherry juice for people that have inflammation is hugely effective.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Well, I think I took up more than my time. So, but I'm happy if you guys want to send me a message, or you want to ask Nathan if you're working up at F45, or if you see me in the gym, I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay, stay tuned.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kim.
Yeah,
You're
thanks.
very welcome.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions?